You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about Propagandhi. On this episode, I am delighted to welcome John Samson Fellows. John's work is well known as a member of Propagandhi, the Weakerthans, as a solo artist, and now releasing music under the moniker Vivat Virtute. On this episode, we discuss John's work as a teacher, his weaving projects and music with Christine Fellows in Vivat Virtute, the 2023 June 1st EP, his favorite memories of Propagandhi, and more. The music you're hearing right now is Rockwood Pickleball Club, track 1 on Vivat Virtute's Hold Music LP. Please go check out what John is up to at vivatvirtute.com and at vivatvirtute.bandcamp.com. Please enjoy my conversation with John Samson Fellows. John Samson Fellows, welcome to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about Propagandhi.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
I'm so delighted that you're here, John. I'm really interested to hear about what your life is like these days. As somebody who's followed your work for so many years of my life, to find out that you are a teacher now is such a thrill and just speaks to my heart as a person who's been teaching for the last since 2005 I've been a teacher.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just so excited to hear about your current full-time work and what you're doing. Just tell the listeners out there or the readers what you're up to these days with regards to your career.
Sure, yeah. So I've been teaching a university level creative writing class at Stony Mountain Institution, which is the federal jail just outside of Winnipeg here. And it's through this really interesting program called Walls to Bridges, where universities kind of sponsor university courses within jails. I started during the pandemic, I guess. Yeah. And I kind of fluked into the job because I was doing other stuff at Stony Mountain. I started a book club out there around 2014. I co-founded a chapter of this thing called Book Clubs for Inmates. And so I would go out there with a couple other volunteers every month, and we would talk about a book with incarcerated people. And one of the people there knew someone who was looking for a prof or an instructor, and it all kind of came together. And I think the fact that I had my clearance and that I'd had experience in jails kind of helped me with that. So I've really loved it. It's been great. I've been, developing a curriculum and a course outline was super interesting. And I've sort of based it around zine making as well. So
sweet.
The kind of point is the final project is a class zine that we make together. And so we're basically throughout the term, we're kind of generating content for our zine. And then we make enough for them to give to friends and family and put some at the University of Winnipeg, which is where the program lives. Yeah, so it's been fun. And it's mostly it's people who wouldn't necessarily take a creative writing course. I mean, it's certainly not really their first choice, really, but it's one of the few courses that are offered. So I try and focus on really kind of practical creative writing. Like we start by doing by writing toasts and obituaries and
cool.
And then we move on to poetry and memoir and op-ed pieces and reviews. We have a lot of people who write kind of reviews of the institution that they're living in and use of the food and stuff. And it's been a really fun process. And then the kind of cut and pasting at the end is always really fun. And I've really enjoyed that. This is my third year doing that, I think. And then I recently got another job, which through a place called the John Howard Society here in Manitoba. It's a nonprofit an agency that works with people getting out of jail. So, or who are about to get out of jail. So I work with people on getting ready for their GEDs or and then I go into the remand center here in Winnipeg, which is where people are kept pre-trial. And and I work with them on literacy stuff with a group of volunteers. And so that's really fun too. And a little bit scary. Like I realized right away that I would not pass the GED if I had to
Mm.
take. Yeah, there's some real challenging things, and just kind of working within that system is a real kind of challenge. Anyway, yeah, so
Yeah.
that's kind of where my teaching's been at. I sort of fell into it, and I really like it.
Do you have any like specific texts that you love to teach with your students that really like that you really have found as kind of like your niche as a teacher? Like for me as a teacher, like I was always super into teaching Gilgamesh and the Bhagavad Gita and
Oh,
stuff like
nice.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I'm wondering if you have any like texts that you're just like super into teaching and like when you start that, you're like, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I have a few. We start with a George Saunders editing piece.
I
George
love
Saunders,
him.
the short story writer, he did this kind of piece in one of his books about he lays out the short story, and then you have to take 5 minutes and cut 20 words, and then you have to do like phases until you've got it down to like just a paragraph or whatever.
Yeah.
That's always really fun for people who have never really edited before. I rely pretty heavily on this book called The Sentences Within Us, which I think was published by Haymarket not too long ago. And it's just full of writing. Like I like to focus, aside from that George Saunders piece, it's all writing from people who have been incarcerated or who are incarcerated. So I want to really nail home the point that writing is valid and important, and they're the only people who can do that writing. So, and there's a lot of incredible writing from inside jails. So
Yeah.
I've built up a collection of prison writings over the years.
Amazing. And you publish these in volumes like I
Mm,
love that. Have you just been kind of blown away by some of the stories that your students have been able to kind of tease out of themselves? Because I like me, for
yeah,
me, getting 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds to write a creative short story,
mm,
they're so determined that they are not going to succeed at the
yeah,
beginning of the process, and then when they get to the end of it and we do like our readers theater and stuff where we like are reading
uh,
passages from our stories aloud in class, they just are bursting with confidence. And like it's like you see people find their voice in real time, and it's just such a powerful moment, isn't it?
yeah. It really is. You're right. I'm sure it's the same thing. Yeah, it's beautiful when they figure out when it's sort of unlocked, and you're like, oh, I can write about myself, write about my life, and make something that I can share with other people. Yeah, it's a really powerful thing for sure.
Do you write with them? Like, do you share things that
Yeah.
you're writing as well while they're writing too, and you kind of like bounce stuff off of each other in real time?
Yeah, and like because I'm teaching in a jail and they don't have a lot of private time, obviously. We often do a lot of writing in class, like we do little fast little exercises. So I'll write with them as well, and that is fun. Yeah, I like that part of it. It's enjoyable, and then I share in the circle as well. And I do think that that kind of brings everything into a level kind of playing field. And a lot of this kind of writing that I'm teaching is not something that I'm particularly good at, right? So, I'm not a big prose writer. I don't write an argument very well. So it's nice for me too. It's helped me as a writer, and I do feel like yeah, it's important to be in the circle.
One of the things that I always loved about teaching was whenever we would do a unit that I was particularly bad at, like
Mm.
I'm a terrible poet. It
Yeah.
just awful. And we would do
Yeah.
these poetry units and these poetry studies, and I would try to write poetry with the students. And some of the
Mm.
students were blowing me out of the water. 16 years old, writing
Sure.
things that were just moving to me to my core. And I'm over here just clunking along, just and I'm like, hey, look, I'm just like doing it anyway, even though I stink
Yeah.
at it. And they always liked it whenever I would like acknowledge my own
Yeah.
shortcomings. It was kind of a
Yeah.
way to bond, you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And writing is, that's what the power of writing, right? Is the yeah. Anyway.
do you have some goals in teaching that you're like shooting for in the next like I don't know 3 to 5 years? Like where do you see yourself going with the work?
I guess with my work at John Howard is sort of new, and yeah, I'd like to get better at stuff that I'm bad at. So like math, for example, I'm terrible at math. I'm really,
Yeah, me
really bad
too.
at it. Lately I've been teaching a bit of math, and it's been rough. Though the fact that we're learning together is pretty cool. But yeah, I definitely want to kind of get my skills a little bit, raise my skills in fields that I don't really know that much about. So,
Hmm.
but luckily when I go into John Howard, I have these volunteers who come with me, and they're a bunch of them are teachers, and so they've been kind of coaching me on how to teach this stuff too. So just showing up for incarcerated people and trying to help them express themselves is the long-term goal. And then also just the real practical stuff. Like lately I've been helping people write resumes
Hmm.
and do stuff like that. And yeah, I want to get like just better at that stuff, math and but math's a big one. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, let me empathize with you on the math thing for a second, because I have a
Yeah.
10-year-old in fifth
Oh
grade,
wow.
and
Yeah.
she comes home with these math assignments that just they're taught in a totally different way than I was ever taught.
Oh
And
yeah,
the
I've
way
heard
that they
this.
chunk math and break down like you know
Yeah.
like characters and stuff like that into smaller pieces and then put it all back together, it's really
Mm.
amazing the way that it's being done now. So my 10-year-old is doing that for me by helping me rethink the way that math and numbers work together,
Right.
and they help me break it down. And so like it's
Amazing. Yeah.
absolutely so cool that my 10-year-old
Yeah.
is doing that for me. I'm just delighted by it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, John, I want to talk about music for a little bit, if that's cool.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Post Weakerthans, you have been musical, been making music. I'm thinking about your Millennium for All single, Fantasy Baseball at the End of the World, and your work
Mhm.
with Christine Fellows and Vivat Virtute. Tell me a little bit about what you've been up to musically, kind of since you've been in this next stage of your musical journey.
So yeah, I'm not really sure what this stage is, but I haven't been writing a lot of music, but when I do, it's been really kind of focused on things that I'm doing, organizing work and activist work, I guess. So yeah, Millennium for All was this song that really kind of grew out of this activist group I was a part of called Millennium for All. We started working together when the kind of over securitization of the Winnipeg Library got really intense. So just the kind of site of libraries is a really became this really interesting thing to me, and I got to hang out with all these kind of academics who were working on it and these community organizers who were working on it. So they were writing a report, and I was helping edit that report. And then I thought, one of them actually, my friend Bronwyn was like, "Why don't you write a song to go with the report?" And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of a nice idea." So that's where Millennium for All came from, really kind of arose out of this kind of research and stuff I was reading. That was really fun. And it was sort of a calling card for our protests that we did at the library. And that was actually the last performance. The last time I played music live was in February, I guess, of 2020 when we had a
Hmm.
big event at the library and I sang that song with Christine and my friend Scott. And then we had a big sing along, which was really nice. It
Yeah.
was kind of a nice way to go out if I don't return to it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so that was really fun. And then trying to think of what happened next. Fantasy Baseball at the End of the World was just kind of like pushed itself out of my brain a little bit. It sort of like demanded to get out, and it was mostly written when I was on dog walks.
Yeah.
So singing to myself. And I feel like it's kind of a nice kind of closing statement maybe for the John K. Samson section of my career.
Sure.
It kind of talks about moving on to something else in a way, and so that's kind of the direction that I'm turning towards.
Tell me a little bit about your fantasy baseball interest. Is that real? Is that like a real thing that
Yeah.
you do? Because my girlfriend is
Uh-huh.
so into fantasy football, and we're always looking at
Oh,
her
yeah.
people, and we're making
Yeah.
trades, and
Yeah.
we're benching people, and we're bringing in new players that other people in her
Mhm.
league have dropped. Tell me a little bit about your interest in that topic.
Sure. So I've been in a fantasy baseball keeper league for at least a dozen years now. It's an interesting league. There are now people who are bringing league team owners who are bringing their children in.
Yeah.
Like they're now some teenage children who are co-managing teams. I started doing that, and then I brought in Jim Bryson, who
Hmm.
maybe you know. Weakerthans did a record with Jim, and he's one of my good friends and also a baseball fan. So we started a team together, and then we were really bad at it. We were always last, kind of thing. So then we brought in our Jim's friend Dave Hodge, who's a hockey commentator in Canada, or was. He's retired now. A really interesting guy, and he kind of took over management of our team. So Jim and I are sort of like, we think of ourselves as like sitting in the luxury box watching our team. I got really obsessed by it for a few years there. It was troubling. I got really into like all the fantasy baseball podcasts and like, yeah, like following. And then it kind of just dissipated for me. I was like, my brain couldn't handle it anymore. But I
Yeah.
did find it like a really interesting culture and like a really kind of fascinating thing that we spend so much time on. Like,
Hmm.
like yeah, just thinking about the amount of time I spent on it. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like it's a pretty handy metaphor for some things, maybe. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, for me, interestingly, like I recently have been processing this in my own real life, the way that I, use media, inhale media, the ways that I have, in the last couple of years, found myself in like Reddit rabbit holes, like on the Buffalo
Oh yeah.
Bills Reddit page. And
Oh,
like
I'm sure.
I'll be reading these like intense analyses of like our cornerback problems and
Hmm.
like who is injured on our defensive line and everybody arguing and bickering about if the Bills Super Bowl window has closed. And it's
Yeah.
like, and all of a sudden I'll snap out of it and I'll be like, whoa, 90 minutes have gone by and I have now lost time that I will never get back as long as I live.
Hmm.
And so it's like, to me, your song was so fascinating because it's like, okay, I've lost all this time. And then while I've lost all this time, this like really nefarious and
Yeah.
dark force has bubbled up in society. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, maybe I should redirect my attention again. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I do feel like there's part of me that wants to say we should be gentle with ourselves in this regard, and that, there's something really soothing about it as well.
Yeah.
Like the fact that, yeah, we can't always be focused on the horrors of the world,
Hmm.
So there's also that. But yeah, it is definitely like it can get a little it can get a little troubling for sure.
You've got a relatively new release out.
Mm,
You've got a
mm,
couple actually. You've got
mm,
Hold Music with Christine
mm.
Fellows, and you've got the June 1st EP. And June 1st is really cool because, it's that very local aspect, those very
Yeah.
local issues that you write about, where it's like you walk out your front door and the things that are in the song are across the street from you. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm.
And that's what, to me, what that June 1st EP seems to be. Tell me a little bit about your work with Christine, Vivat Virtute, and Hold Music, and what you two have got going on.
Sure. So I guess we started with hold music, and I enjoyed kind of, yeah, we decided we'd do it under the Vivat Virtute banner that we started this store where we were selling crafts, and I got really into weaving a few years back. So we've got this store where we sell Christine's music and weaving my weavings and her collages and stuff. So we were like, yeah, let's do something. And we had all this kind of music stored up. Christine, and to a lesser degree myself, have done the music for this podcast called Heavyweight
Hmm.
for the last 8 years, I guess.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's with Jonathan Goldstein, who's a friend of ours, and he's always kind of generously asked us to make the music every year or make some music every year. So we usually spend most August. Christine, I have to say, does most of the work, building like a catalog of music for them to use in their season. And they use a little bit of it. They don't use all of it, right? So we are like, oh, let's do like a release of our favorite little bits and bytes from that kind of 8 years of generating music together for the podcast. And I had one song that I was kind of commissioned to make by a friend here in Winnipeg called Do not worry. And so we tacked that one on at the end and put it out, and that was really fun. And then just put it on Bandcamp, no other media.
Mm-hmm.
And then June 1st, I had a couple songs. I've been working on that All My Ex-Boyfriends Are You song for like 3 or 4 years. I couldn't make it work, and it was one of those ones that I was just poking at forever. And I finally finished that. And then, yeah, so then I wrote two songs for kind of local activist groups. So I've been working with this group of activists from different faith communities in Winnipeg. So it was like pretty much every faith community you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
Members of their congregations came together to kind of respond to the call of the Wet'suwet'en pipeline protest out in BC. They asked people to pressure the Royal Bank of Canada, especially as the kind of number one funder of fossil fuels in the world now, and a Canadian bank. So we kind of got together from all these different faith communities to try and respond to that call and do some activism in the banks, in branches, and also like outside of branches, and try and pressure RBC. So I wrote this song. I think I just called it RBC or something, but it's to the tune of Abide With Me, which is an old Christian hymn. I wrote that for them, and we rehearsed it, and then we performed it in front of the bank. And then one bank we shut down for a day, and then another time we had just a big kind of like gathering and speakers and a concert outside. And so we kind of got this ad hoc community singing group together, and I really loved that. So then after that, I decided I'd do like a community songwriting project. So I got together 12 interested people from that group, and we spent a couple Saturdays like writing a song just
Yeah.
specifically for our protests. And that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. Like it was, so we took an old hymn tune, I can't remember which one now, and we just started brainstorming lyrics, and then I would take them away and try and shape them into a song, and then bring them back, and then they would edit them, and then we'd rehearse it, and it was really awesome. It was really fun. I really enjoyed that. So that's where that came from. And then I was at the same time, around that time, I was doing a lot of work or a lot of organizing work with the library folks on the Winnipeg city budget. And just years of doing that really kind of gives you an insight into just how awful it is,
Yeah.
and how anti-human, and how the priorities of this city, and I think a lot of cities, are so backwards.
Buffalo, New York.
Right. Yeah, I'm
When
sure it's the same, right?
the lyric roads and police and roads
Right.
is this city too. And so
Right.
it totally connected with me as well. I mean,
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. That was really fun to write. And I wrote that just for kind of like as an inside kind of thing, just for the people that I kept ending up at City Hall with, waiting to do a
Yeah.
budget delegation, and yeah, I love those people. Like they're so amazing. They take all this time out of their days to just show up and try and make things better at City Hall. And so yeah, that was kind of a love song to them. So I put all that together. I was like, those long story, but those three songs. And then I was like, it was June 1st of this year was the 10th anniversary of my quitting drinking.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, maybe I'll put something out to like mark that kind of little feat.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's why I called it June 1st, and I made a little weaving to go along with it for the cover. And it was just really fun. Like I really enjoyed it. I like doing it outside of the kind of industry of music. I like not being on the streamers. I
Hmm.
liked a lot about it. Yeah, so it was fun. It was kind of, I think that's kind of the model. Well, we'll see. I never know if I'm ever going to write a song again, but that's kind of the model that I've been enjoying.
You should write this. You should write the song whenever it hits you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
love
feel
it.
like that's kind of my thing now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, John, amazing. I'm so glad that you're, creating and whenever it hits you, and especially the local aspect as well. Do you just record everything at home? Or are you recording like
Yeah.
in your house?
Christine, so I'm terrible at recording. Christine's really good at it.
Uh-huh.
And I work in the basement where because I have a giant floor loom that only really fits in the basement. So my studio's in the basement. Christine's on the half floor upstairs, and she has a whole studio set up there and uses Pro Tools. And I think we have two nice mics. Maybe it's just one nice mic. Maybe it's two. But anyway, she tracks. My new rule also is that if I can't record all of it in 90 minutes, I'm not going to do it.
Mm,
So that's kind of my thing too, because I realized that when I was writing songs, I was dreading forward, as Christine would call it. I was dreading forward to the recording process. I just got this real like thing in my head where I was like, oh, I hate that part.
mm.
So I was like, 90 minutes, just focus on it for 90 minutes. And so that's why they sound a little bit rough, and maybe like the guitars aren't always in time, and it's a little bit loosey goosey.
But it's very authentic and organic,
Mm.
and I love listening to it in the house. Like I have the Bandcamp app and I put it on my little speaker with my Bluetooth over there, and
Oh, nice.
it's just lovely. It sounds great coming through too, and it sounds like a real song. Like you can feel as if I close my eyes, like it almost feels like you're sitting on the other side of the living room doing a
Mm.
living room show. You know what I mean?
Nice.
That's
Oh,
what it
I
feels like
appreciate
to
that.
me.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's great. Thank
Well,
you.
good. Well, John, let's chat about
Mhm.
some other
Mhm.
music. We're gonna take you back in time a little bit.
Okay.
Um, the 30th anniversary of Propagandhi's How to Clean Everything passed this year.
Right.
And I'm wondering if you thought about it, if that like anniversary meant anything to you, kind of like
Mhm.
what that record is for you at this stage in your life.
Sure. I didn't really think about it, to be honest. Yeah, I noted it, and that's I noted how long ago that was. That's 30 years. That seems outrageous.
Hmm.
Either that or it seems like way longer ago. It's one of those weird understandings of time where you're like, was that last week or was that last century? And it was last century.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, no, I didn't think about it that much. I think I have like a good something that I think has been good for me as a musician is that I'll like listen to things obsessively as they're being made. And then after like maybe 3 or 4 weeks after they're out, I'll never listen to them again. So I remember some things from the record for sure.
Hmm.
But it's not something that I've heard in, probably 25 years or so. So yeah, that's kind of my thought about it. But I do have definitely some fond memories of that time. Yeah.
Does Fat Records send you vinyl repressings whenever they re-release these records? Like, did you get some of the 2013 20th anniversary reissue with like the expanded track listing and everything like that? Did that stuff come in the mail to you?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Awesome.
good. I give it to friends who are interested. Yeah, they sent a big box of kind of like ones that I gave a whole bunch of them. So I gave those to Chris. They do send them. I have to admit I don't open them. And that's not any offense to the band. I do the same with my own records and
Yeah.
band's records. I just like Christine. I remember Christine told me the story about how she was tree planting in the 90s at some point. She did that for a few years. And one time the person organizing the food in the camp made a mistake with the order, and all they had was bananas and salmon for like 3 weeks. And she was like, so they ate that like 3 times a day. And she can't look at either of those things anymore. And that's kind of a little bit how I feel about like making a record, where you're just like, I feel like an actual allergy to records that I've made in the past. I'm just like, I'm never, yeah. If I hear yeah, Weakerthans song or any song that I was on, I'm just like, oh, Yeah.
Well, I have two questions about
Okay.
particular songs on this
Sure.
record. I want to know. So I interviewed Conrad Sichler
Oh,
um,
nice.
for the
Conrad.
leg hold trap episode that we did, and he
Oh,
was
okay.
so generous with his time. We talked to him for hours, and then I've actually hung out with Conrad in person a couple times
Oh,
since
beautiful.
I met him through the podcast. And the original song was written for leg hold trap by your band with Conrad, Toothpick Hercules, and Steve.
Oh,
And I'm wondering about your thoughts on the like leg hold trap and because I had a blast talking to Conrad about those years. And I wonder if you have any like thoughts on the leg hold trap by Toothpick Hercules, how it became a Propagandhi song, like any memories that stand out about that particular tune.
sure. I didn't recall that it was that both bands played it. That's kind of shows a lack of judgment in both bands, in my opinion. Um, yeah. I mean, it's not a good song. I can hear myself kind of trying to write like a Bad Religion song or something. It sounds like someone trying to write a song, as I recall it, the lyrics, like, I don't know, it's like I see it sometimes in writers where you're just like they want to write something. So it's like this kind of word paste that they spread on a structure of a song. I guess like one thing I would say that is like maybe it's a nice way of showing like I probably wrote that song when I was like 16 or 17.
Hmm.
And so maybe it's a nice like signpost for how I learned maybe to write songs a little better while I was in Propagandhi.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, I would maybe that would be the only thing I would think about it. But
Nice. Okay, so the next one
right.
is related to Showdown. And
Ah,
so the Slips and Tangles version that you put out, acoustic, just as a standalone song,
yeah.
is something I didn't ever discover until I started doing this podcast. But on an
Hmm.
early episode of this podcast, I was pretty hard on Showdown and I got a lot of like listener grief about
Oh,
my my
interesting.
my Showdown opinions
Hmm.
because like the Greenest Eyes version acoustic is lovely, but then it feels like it was like this like mashed up thing. So I'm a big advocate that they should have always been like left as separate songs. And so I'm wondering if you can weigh in on the debate of me versus the listeners of my own podcast who have gone to
Sure.
war over Showdown over the last 3.5 years.
I'm gonna take a third position and say that that's not a good song either. I'm sorry. Like it's not good. Again, it's kind of like my section of it at least is that kind of word paste of like trying to write. I wish I could describe this better, but like it's when you're trying to write a song and so you make words go together that sound like they mean something, but they actually don't, right?
Mm,
So I think that a lot this is how we learn how to write things, right? But
yeah.
again, that song written when I was 16 years old is not a good song. I would like, if that was brought to me in a songwriting workshop, I would say you should start over.
Oh my
So,
gosh. I love that. And like whenever I interviewed Jacob Berdovsky for the
oh yeah.
podcast a couple years ago, he was talking about those songwriting workshops that you did and he just loved it.
Hmm.
He loved showing you things and we had a really great conversation about those workshops. So that's really
Oh,
cool that you
cool.
bring
Yeah,
those up.
yeah. Yeah, I love doing those. And again, like the community aspect of that is really, really fun. And I do feel like that I could have benefit like one of the reasons I love doing them is that I could have benefited from them so much. Like I could have been prevented from from having songs like Greenest Eyes or Showdown come out. I think when as I recall the like split thing, it was just fun, right? Like again, like I feel like the context is important. It was Propagandhi at the time was really making music for a few hundred people, right, in
Hmm.
Winnipeg. It was about showing something fun at a show, right? Like it
Love
was
it.
like, yeah. So it was like to me, I was always like, oh, that's kind of fun. It was just fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm not I don't find much redeemable in the in the lyrics. personally myself. I don't remember Chris's, but mine are, that's again, it's like a word paste.
The context thing is really interesting too, because like,
Hmm.
my friend who's become a friend, Aaron Carnes, he wrote a book called Ska Sucks in Defense of Ska. And or not Ska Sucks, but In Defense of Ska is the title of the book. And he wrote a section about Ska Sucks where he talks about the contextualized nature of that
Oh
song
yeah,
within
yeah,
the
so specific.
Winnipeg, so
Yeah,
specific, and it was misconstrued in so many ways
right,
about the
right.
meaning of it and like where it was coming from. So it's really awesome that you bring up the context of like we were playing for like this tiny group of people in this one city in this very isolated part of the continent, and this is what it became. So
Yeah.
it's
I
it's
feel
super
like, yeah,
important.
that was always my first, like, when I first listened to Propagandhi's tape, Fuck the Scene, that I bought at the skateboard shop for, like $4 or whatever. I was like, that's what I loved about it. Well, aside from the fact that there were real songs and real, like, great, played beautifully and recorded in a really unusual and direct way, that it was really kind of focused on that scene, really. Like, so it was
Hmm.
like broadsides against it, but also encouragements of community, and a real, just like, real fun. Like, it was fun. Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's chat a little bit about Let's Talk More Rock. Um,
Mm.
the 25th anniversary of that one just passed. And something that's really cool about this is I went to Winnipeg in 2021 for those
Oh,
three Propagandhi shows at Park Theater that they did over the Thanksgiving weekend.
nice.
And when I was there, obviously Chris and Todd and Jordan Sulin knew about the podcast, and Chris gave me a copy of the 25th anniversary reissue as a gift, which was
Mm.
so nice of him to do.
Mm.
And I'm curious about what this release means to you, because to me this is like it's been stated on this podcast many times as being the most important Propagandhi record because of how the ideas were so specific and it was laid out on the cover and how it was kind of visionary and ahead of its time with regards to many issues that we're still dealing with in society today. And so I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this one as a whole piece, looking back 2.5 decades later.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of good memories about some of those songs, especially. I loved playing, Nation States was really fun to play.
Hmm.
Preteen McCarthyist was really fun. Yeah, I don't know that I really have a lot to say about it, but it was an interesting record to make. We went to San Francisco. I certainly learned a lot about the process of making a record. Um, the first record was recorded really fast, and the Less Talk More Rock was a more kind of labored process.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think I really learned a lot from that whole process, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
A song that really stands out to me on that record with regards to your songwriting is Gifts, because
Mm.
Gifts never goes on to become a Weaker Than song. Like
Mhm.
Anchorless did, Letter of Resignation went on to become a Weaker Than song. So those other songs got kind of like the new updated treatment, but
Right.
Gifts never does. But I have a theory that you actually really like Gifts because you continued to play it acoustic. And
Mm.
your acoustic version, there's a video of you playing it online where it's like, this is a Propaganda song, and then you go into it acoustic and or
Mm.
maybe with your electric guitar, but clean on a clean guitar.
Right.
And it's just so lovely.
Hmm.
And to me, I was like, this is what Gifts is supposed to be. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts on Gifts, because your
Sure.
updated version that you've done live is my favorite version that
Mm.
I've heard.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I feel like that song was a bit of a turning point for me. That it's a little bit better than the other songs that I'd written up until that point. I think it has some nice moments, and I still have the impulse to, like, every once in a while think about it. So that's a good sign, I guess, for a song. Uh, I wrote it, I think, when I was working the 7-Eleven night shift, I think, at the time. Pretty dreary time. I think it kind of captures that feeling of, like, waking up in the middle of the day and just like wondering what you're doing with your life,
Mm-hmm.
um, my brain goes to it sometimes. So I think that that's a good sign of the song. Yeah.
Have you ever put it to tape,
No,
beyond
I
performing it
haven't.
live?
No. I feel like it'll just exist in the air. That's kind of best. Like that's I should have done that. I think one of my regrets is that I re-recorded Anchorless and to a certain degree Letter of Resignation
Interesting.
um, for Weaker Than songs. I felt like that was just a sign that I was insecure about the rest of the songs, and that I felt I needed the padding and the like support of those songs that I'd already established with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it would have been better if I hadn't bothered. Like Anchorless, again, not a good song, but it's like I think the second verse that I added for the Weaker Lands makes it a little bit better, but also the urgency is kind of lost, and I don't know, yeah. So I feel like with Gifts, I resisted the urge to make it to double up on it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad I did because yeah, I think it exists. It's not a bad song. Um, it's not great, but it's it'll do. You know.
It's my favorite of your songs in
Yeah,
that early era.
yeah.
So I'm
I
a
think
big
me
Gifts
too. I think
proponent.
I think I would say that too.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, on the Anchorless episode that I did for the podcast, I actually had Lauren Denizio from Warriors
Mm.
on, and Lauren was just like so overjoyed to tell stories about touring with you and touring with the Weakerthans, and it was just a lovely time to hang out.
Yeah, they're great. They're beautiful songwriter, and I'm really glad that we kind of found each other, kind of kindred. We're kind of kindred writers, I feel like, in a lot of ways. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Maybe I'll listen to that. I do love their new records. Wonderful. So yeah, getting to meet people like that has been a real joy for me too, is like meeting younger songwriters and learning from them and getting to watch them play. And yeah, it's been good. Yeah, that was Winter Wheat they came out with.
Oh,
The
right.
Winter
It was a
Winter Wheat.
solo tour for you,
Yeah,
right? With
yeah,
Winter
it
Wheat.
was. But it was with Greg and Jason and Christine. So yeah, it was a full band, and yeah.
Awesome. John, what do you most positively associate with your like memories of like working with Propagandhi?
I just learned a lot, right? Like I learned how to drive a van, and I learned how to sleep in a van. I learned how to write songs a little better. I learned just the kind of structure of Chris's songs really imprinted on me. The way the economy of language, the idea that you have a certain amount of space to say something and you should use it all and kind of leave it all out there. And yeah, that kind of idea that choruses are not that important.
Hmm.
And what else? I mean, yeah, I have nothing bad to say. I mean, I also can't underestimate the material support they gave me. So after I left Propagandhi, I received royalties from those first two records, and at that time, that was a serious amount of money. So it paid for. I didn't have to get a job. I was able to do a whole bunch of things I wanted to do. And then
Hmm.
I was able to start the Weaker Thans, and I was able to pay for a practice space, to buy our first van, to take a loss on the first tours, and they paid for the recording and pressing of our first two records, right? So I don't know where I would be without them, really. So yeah, I mean, those are all like really important things to me.
So I have a question. Can I ask if being in the band in the mid 90s and
Mm.
playing live was scary? Because I've like heard recordings and I'm just like, I would be such a chicken in this
Right.
situation. And I'm just like, were these guys like just so brave, or like, because it sounds so scary to me, a lot of the experiences.
Yeah. I mean, my memories are pretty dim, but I feel like, yeah, there were some scary moments for sure there were. Now that I think about it, yeah, it was pretty intense at times. fractious and like really like confrontational. Part of that were the audiences too, right? Like there was a real kind of confrontational edge to some of the audience. Yeah, and that's certainly not my natural inclination, right?
Yeah.
I would prefer it if everyone liked me.
Yeah.
That's my great great weaknesses that I think a lot of people share. There was also something about being part of a band that didn't think that way that was valuable to me and pushed me to places that I think I'm glad that I went to. But sure, yeah, it was scary.
Amazing.
And I was not cut out for it, obviously. Like as
It
a
wouldn't be
player,
for me. I couldn't do it
yeah,
either.
yeah. But like also as a player, like Chris and George are exceptional musicians, and it's not, and I'm not like I'm just not musically that. I mean, I'm sounding like I'm talking down on myself, but it's just a fact. Like I'm not. It's not the kind of technical prowess I don't have, right? So it's kind of I didn't fit in a whole bunch of ways, right? Yeah, like in a multitude of ways, and that's interesting too. Like that's like I feel like maybe that happens less often now. Is like at the time it was like I was the only bass player who tried out, right? Like
Hmm.
I was their only option really, and the tryout was just like, okay, yeah, you learned those songs, so let's play some shows. I don't think that that would happen now. I think
Mm-mm.
like that weird combination of personalities maybe wouldn't be a thing anymore. So I thought it was good for a little while. It was interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That rocks. John, where would you like where can people, find your work
Mm,
if they want to like get in touch and like see what you're doing because you've
sure.
got so much cool stuff going on creatively. Tell people where to kind of direct their attention if they're curious.
Sure. So there's the Vivat Virtute Bandcamp,
Hmm.
and there's vivatvirtute.com. You might need to put a big cartel in there somewhere.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So that's vivatvirtute.com or vivatvirtute.bigcartel.com has weavings that I've made and Christine's music and links to some other stuff. So that's kind of it's been fun to have a little we call it the family store, and it's just it's a nice little project.
Yeah, I bought roses on the vine off your
Oh,
store.
excellent. Yeah,
Um
that's right. That's right.
During the pandemic I was like
Nice.
just getting records left and right. What do you like about stuff we all get and roses on the vine because Christine's work
Mm,
is so cool and I've never
yeah,
heard anything like it besides her. It's
right.
so original, it's such an original voice. And I just
Hmm.
love it. What do you think about those records?
I love those records. Yeah, they're my favorites. I really like I get to hear them emerge from the upstairs. I'm in the basement, but I can hear it. Uh, and especially stuff we all get really emerged throughout the pandemic. So it was like I heard every minute of the growth of that record. And yeah, Christine is my favorite writer and my primary editor and I think she's a wonderful writer. So I'm really grateful for those records and I think they sound really cool. It's always great to hear Jason Tate play. I think
Yes.
Christine and Jason have this really super interesting musical relationship. I think they're really like meant for each other in a way,
Nice.
and they work really well together. Yeah, I love those records for sure.
He's doing stuff too, I love his
Mm,
work on Jacob's record as well. And
yeah.
Jason seems like he's out there really working hard and playing a lot too.
Yeah, he's been working on a solo record. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, but anyway, he's been working on
Fun.
his own stuff and it sounds incredible.
Amazing.
You're gonna love it. So yeah, he's always making great. great things in his garage.
Well, John Samson Fellows, what an absolute pleasure and a thrill to chat with you. I love hanging out and having fun and hearing stories, and it just means so much to me that we got to have this opportunity to chat for a bit. Thank you so much for joining me for Unscripted Moments, a podcast about Propagandhi.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you, Greg.